We're live. Well, welcome everybody to YouTube Mall Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday night hangouts are for the general discussion of mall railroading. Uh, all of us, including the people who are in the Q&A, can ask questions to set a topic, or if you're having troubles, ask a question. Hopefully we got somebody here on the panel that can answer it for you or help you out. If not, hopefully we can send you to a link somewhere to get your answer. Uh, I am Johnny Reb, Southeast Rails. I will be the moderator for tonight. We're taking names, whichever. Usually just moderating. Anyway, Thursday night hangouts are the proud sponsor of the YouTube Mall Builders community, the e-magazine, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show. You can also go to the YouTubeMallBuilders.com, and there you'll find a lot of information as to when the live show will be, which is once a month, usually the third Saturday of each month. The e-mag is bi-monthly, comes out every 2 months, and you can also sign up so that with the e-mag, so when it does come out, you get a notification in your email where you can go and download the PDF file and be able to read it at your leisure. You also see the schedule there for the Tuesday night presentations. We have some really good shows there. We've got it now where we have different people moderating those. Dude does one night, 1 week. Troy's another week. Gino is got a week, and Barry and his buddy Mike are doing a tech show for electronics and all in the hobby. But you can always check there at the YouTubeMallBuilders.com. And we do appreciate it if everybody would kind of adhere to the code of ethics. I mean, we are in each other's homes, so we are guests, so we want to kind of watch what we're doing and how we're doing it. We do ask, though, if you are smoking or eating, if you would turn your camera off, please, while doing so. And thank you again for joining tonight's presentation. I'm going to open it up with a question. Had to go get some more glue. I'm a big fan of the white glue, so I've been using the Elmer's general glue. Found out, like several others, the school glue is not exactly what you want to be using. Kind of got to looking at the prices of it, so and I use a fair amount, and I'll hopefully I'll say this right. Aldine's tacky glue. I was looking at that because it's right there on the same shelf, and I was looking for the same, pretty much about an ounce more in certain bottles than what you get in the Elmer's white glue. You got more of the tacky glue, and it was a cheaper price. So I think I'm going to kind of switch and start using more of the Aldine's. I've been using that too, and as far as the white glue, it works great. You can water it down if you need a little thinner, and it still does a nice job. And also, has anybody got a good price on super glue, the gel, not the regular super glue? Because you go to Hobby Lobby, Walmart, and all them, and you buy super glue in a little half-ounce ball for $5-6. That's a little more expensive. I know when I was doing RC airplanes, we used Zap glue, or yeah, and they did have a gel which they call gap filling. Hopefully, I'm going to check that out again, see if that's about the same. That's a lot bigger ball, and it's a little cheaper to use. Any thoughts on that?
So what was the brand of that white glue replacement you're talking about?
Aldine.
Aldine.
Alden, right? Miles, I think it is.
Eileen's.
Eileen's, yeah.
Ron Perry's been talking about
That's what I use. Not to interrupt you, but that's what I use.
Well, and Ron Perret's been talking about a glue replacement that he uses that's more water resistant, which I don't know is necessarily a big benefit. I like white glue because if in 5 years I decide I don't like it, I can pour water on it and wipe my scenery off my styrofoam kind of. And then on super glues, I'm mostly using the Gorilla super glue, which I found some cheaper price on it. Maybe it was I remember where I got it at, but I found it was like 2.5, 2.25, 2.5 a bottle. I mean, I've used a lot of Loctite, and it's okay, but it's a little more expensive. I'll tell you, since we're talking glues, this is my favorite thing coming and going right now. Beacon Fabri-Tac. It's kind of like the effect of hot glue, without being without going through the process of hot glue, and it has a slight rubberiness to it. So I've been planting trees with it, which will take me bumping them a little bit. Like I've been planting them and then going back with a spoon to put some of my ground cover in between them, and it's a little more forgiving. And hot glue's a little hard in tight spaces. So this one's one I'm fond of.
And where do you get that?
I'm pretty sure this one come from Hobby Lobby. And there was one of the videos, and I'll think of it in a minute, of somebody who turned me on to this one, and they were actually using a different glue. It was a British modeler or something, and they were using a different glue, but compared it to this one and said that it was very similar to this. And this has I mean, it's a weird cross between rubber cement and maybe even contact adhesive with a slight hot glue. I mean, it fits a real good niche. So, like in my background scenic areas, I followed a trick that Joe Fugate talked about by using this sheet moss material, which in HO scale is definitely not fine enough for foreground scenery, but it's letting me, for background scenery, I'm filling in between trees and getting the back of my forest a tremendous lot denser without having to build out my undergrowth. So I've been building my undergrowth out with the leftover pieces of super trees, but that's really meticulous for background scenery. And I've been using that sheet moss, and the best glue I've found to put that down with, period, is the Fabri-Tac. I'm a absolute fan of this stuff right here.
Hold that up one more time where we actually see it now. I got you presented right now.
Yeah, it's a Beacon Fabri-Tac. I found it at Hobby Lobby.
In the craft section, or?
There's a regular section for nothing but glues.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, it may have been the glue section, or it may even have been in the fabrics, because which I've been looking at a lot. I've got some fake fur and I've been playing with, and then I've been using this double-sided tape, which is fabric adhesive. It's the closest thing to transfer tape I could just find at Hobby Lobby, and that's what I'm using to do like these sheet shingle material. And and it was Bill's idea to find a transfer tape, but the closest thing I could find was this fabric adhesive, which is double-sided tape, clear, unbelievably super thin, and completely and 100% permanent once you stick something down wrong.
Yeah, the gel glue, I got that one off of Bill too, so yeah.
I do help out when I can.
He didn't say what he's charging, so I grabbed it and ran.
I use Zap-A-Gap for a lot of things. I use the thick gel type Zap for doing my oak trees, for holding the foliage on. It attaches real quick. When I do models for putting windows on, a lot of times I don't use the glazing that comes with it because it looks way too fake. So I use this glue, which is Testors. It dries clear, but it also makes window glass. It's a glazing, trying to think what they call it now. Testors, clear part cement and window maker.
Yeah.
So that works out real well.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do something, I use that Beacons a lot too. I'm out of it right now, but Beacons makes about the best type of glues that you can use on for your model railroad. They also have Scenic Express sells some of it, and It's used for putting your foliage down and where you want it, and it stays put. But if you need to take it back up, you just pull on it, and it will come loose without tearing everything up underneath it. If I'm using putting wood models together, balsa or basswood, and I want something to take a little bit more time to align things up, I use the Go-To glue from Loctite. That is a very good product. You have a little bit of working time, but you don't need an accelerator with it. It will, once it starts its process, it's done. You're not moving it.
So you get what, about 10 seconds on that, or 15?
Between 15 and 20 seconds. It's not,
yeah,
and it doesn't adhere to your fingers like regular super glue does.
Well, that's
How about
no
a faster glue?
Yeah.
My biggest problem is that I end up having to sit here and hold something in alignment perfectly. I need a super glue that's much faster, or I need a super glue that I can buy without having to go to a hobby shop that I can get an accelerator for. So like like the Hobby Lobby super glues and stuff, they don't sell an accelerator, or I can't find it.
Well, that's why I use this Loctite. It gives me working time.
I've been using a lot of Loctites, but I have all these various types of Loctite, but I want one that's fast.
Now, if I'm going to do woodworking with larger structures, or putting bench work together, or doing things like the area where the turntable goes and all, I like using Tight Bond, either Tight Bond 2 or Tight Bond 3. And I think Miles will agree with me. You use the Tight Bond 3, I believe. And, what's that?
I use everything that you've talked about. I think you ought to have an arsenal. You never know what you want to stick together.
Yeah. What I like about this glue is that once it dries, that joint is not coming apart. You'll break the board somewhere else, but that glue is not allowing that joint to break free.
Yeah.
That's my glue.
I got a question for Miles, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
You do static grass?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Andy, I know, has got an answer because he's already been experimenting. I wanted to ask. I've never done it. I've got a static grass applicator borrowed here, and I just got the grass in the other day. I've got a piece of styrofoam already prepped, sealed up, and everything. So that should work okay if I just put down white glue, right? Just lay it down. Will the grass adhere to that just fine, still stand up okay? Or
do you have a static gun or an applicator?
Yes.
Okay.
It should.
So long as the glue is wet, it'll work great.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just got to be wet so it conducts that static charge.
Yeah.
So if I just put a drop of water in the glue, that should help out then, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a tad, 25% maybe, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put a little bit of white glue down first and spread it out where I'm going to use the grass, and then I'll make up a mixture in a little squeeze bottle with a spout for a 60-40 or a 70-30 mix of water, white glue, and pour it on the top of it. And when you stick your pin in for your ground, as long as you're in the area where it's wet, all your static grass is going to stand up.
Yeah. Okay.
You might add just a drop or two of soap. It'll help that capillary action break down so that the glue spreads more evenly.
Yeah, like wet water. Yeah. Yeah, I found by mixing, anytime I thin my glue, I've gotten where I put a little drop of soap in there. I found it works really well as far as wicking and stuff like that. Works really good. Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Good.
Right now, while I still got the microphone, just want to let everybody know that's viewing, because I got a few viewers here. We do have the Q&A up and running, so if you want to ask a question over on the right-hand side at the bottom, just put your cursor down there, click on it, and you'll be able to type your question in, then hit the enter button, and it'll pop up. We can present it to the panel.
And I've also I use white glue for most of my static grass. That is true. But I've also, and I didn't even think it would work, but so I experimented some. I've used some spray adhesive with with the static grass. And what I did is just sprayed the ground with my wet water mixture so that it picked up some moisture, and use spray adhesive. There's some caveats to spray adhesive and some advantages to it. One, spraying the spray adhesive and let it set for 10 or 15 minutes, it gets really tacky, and you can get very full fields of controlled grass application, little narrow areas. Like I've got some pieces of cardboard with slits cut in them, so I can hold that slit over there and spray the static grass and get a very controlled bead of grass. However, it's shiny as all get out, so you have to dust. I use dirt, so really fine sifted dirt. So after you put apply the grass, you have to sift some dirt over it to get into that spray glue to kind of knock that sheen off the ground, which I find is the best effect as well. Anyway, and then I also use the spray glue for applying, this material and get really good effects, but also still have to sift dirt over it. And I've got to do some static grass within my track work. Over the track work, there's a section where it was kind of grassed up on the prototype, and I think that the spray glue will be perfect for that particular application. But 90% of the time, white glue is best.
I don't know what scale you're in, Andy, but if you want to do some pine trees, the real short fibers work real well on the pine trees. Use your spray glue on the armature of the tree, and then sprinkle that on, and it'll make little pine needles all over. It's really kind of cool.
But I'm in AHO scale, and I've seen a few people do that, and I've just got to buy. I'm on a springtime, so all the grasses and stuff I've got right now are really green, and are really, okay, they're yellows and light greens because it's springtime. I need to get me some really dark static grass, a mid or deep or late summer static grass to do that with, because I have some of the wire brush pine trees that would really, really look great with that application. And I am an avid believer in spray glue. I know a lot of people use other stuff. The Scenic Express guys send this stuff and want you to use this for making the Scenic Express trees or the super trees. I love the spray glue. It's fast as grease lightning, and I much prefer the spray glue.
Now that, and you do Krylon's dulling spray over the top, you kill that adhesive so the dust doesn't collect. Yeah, I agree with you. Spray glue and spray it over with some dulling spray, and you're in like plant.
And I use a lot of hairspray too, and especially for second applications, I use hairspray. So I've done a few trees in this. I've done a few trees in this green color that I showed you, and then I come back with hairspray and laid some of this yellow color in on top of that, and then hairsprayed the whole thing, the whole mess afterwards. And I even use a whole lot of hairspray on my soil when I'm putting down dirt. I use a lot of hairspray on top of that because glue don't want to soak all the way up through the mixture, but you can hairspray the crap out of it. I love the hairspray works great.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to comment on, you just jogged my memory. I'm sorry, I suffer from can't remember anything, old age. When you were talking about that sheet moss, I found that on a trip up to North Missouri one time at a Ben Franklin store of all things. But if you take that and throw it in your blender, you'd be amazed at what it looks like when you grind that stuff up. And you were talking about size differential. That blender will make it much smaller and work much better on your foreground pieces, and you still have that natural colorization that you get from the moss.
Yeah, it has a color variance in it that I just love, and so far I've just been using it in the background to fill in between trees, so that when I look into the deep scene, it looks like there's so much more there, and that's awesome. But that's great. Thank you. I'll do that later.
Go to the nearest garage sale, buy yourself an old blender, and name it the same thing I have. I call it my marriage saver because I don't have to grab my wife's. I grab that one. I throw some moss in it, hold it's a small old one, but I throw the moss in it, put the cap on it, and I shake it as it's running.
Yeah.
And it'll grind that stuff up like absolutely nobody's business. It's absolutely great.
And I bought a coffee bean grinder that I've done some leaves with, and it works really good. And then I bought a small food processor that I've been using with dirt and concrete mix. I've been using some concrete mix with white chalk to make roads. Well, Joey Ricard had a video a few weeks ago, and I'm a big copycat. So, and I've been using it for that. So those little couple, and they're like $10 for that little thing, brand new at Walmart, and it is incredible. The only lifesaver problem I have is my use of the oven, so I have to wait and catch her gone to dry dirt and stuff. But
you got to get a used microwave for about $10.
yeah, that's probably it'd be so much faster too, and it probably wouldn't be as damaging to leaves, to where I have to do leaves on the lowest possible setting and leave the door open and everything, or it obviously the leaves almost catch on fire. I mean, it damages them.
Well,
So if I want to dry out leaves.
The nice thing about the microwave is it kills all the bugs and critters.
Oh yeah, and that's my whole point. Well, other than the benefit of it drying things out and letting me work with it faster, my whole thinking of cooking all these natural materials I use, and some people say you don't need to. Even Joey Ricard, who uses a lot of natural stuff, says he doesn't cook stuff and he doesn't worry about bugs. But I thought better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Andy, were you the one that was looking for cornfields?
Let's see. No, and I'm trying to remember who was talking about it. Well, I remember a few people. Okay, let's see. I'm all too early in the spring for cornfields, and
somebody at N-Scale. I was just trying to think.
Oh well, and there is a company that makes laser cut material for cornfields that's really good, and I just listened to Tom Barbalet from what's that?
ACAM.
Yes, and he doesn't have them for HL scale anymore, but he still has them for N scale. And I just listened to Tom Barbalet, Model Rail Radio, talk about using the tobacco plants for his Jamaican or Cuban, for a Cuban railroad that he's kind of so, and they're laser cut. They're just they're gorgeous.
Yeah, well, there's another company just come out with the N-Scale. It's a Blueford Shops.
Oh yeah, I've seen those, the plastic kits.
Yeah.
And
They're
Ken
realistic
Patterson
looking,
done it with Ken Patterson done it with a welcome mat from like you'd use on your front door. I love seeing those really unique, some using some weird home product or something like this fake fur thing, which I've totally not mastered at all by a long shot. But I'm fascinated with the idea of covering mass areas in a roll of, with the fake fur. It's like this moss material. I'm just fascinated when I find something like a little home product or something that works really good on the railroad. It's like I don't know why. I find it entirely satisfying to not buy model railroad scenery supplies and get model railroad scenery.
Yeah, have you checked out that fern? Andy, have you checked out that fern for making conifer trees?
Yeah, Caspia
fern, yeah.
Yeah, I looked for some at Michael's yesterday, actually, and they didn't have any that looked good that wasn't way too big, but I am absolutely going to build my foreground conifers that way. I'm going to go to all the trouble of drilling all those little doggone holes.
Yeah, tell Michael, when I went in, they had large stuff too. It would be okay for O scale, but I asked them, I said, do you have anything smaller? And they said, well, we don't have it in stock. And she says, yeah, you're going to do model railroading, aren't you? I said, yes, ma'am.
You're breaking up, Bill. We didn't understand what you were saying there.
Andy, you gave my Woodland Scenics Heart a heart attack a minute ago,
Okay, I got stacks of stuff here. This is Woodland Scenics. I've got Scenic Express. I've got Selkirk Leaf. I'm not against spending money on product at all. And it's not even a money thing so much as like I don't know. It's just something, the creativity of taking a welcome mat from a front door or a piece of fake fur and doing something with it. It's totally a creative thing. I'm not at all anti to spending the money, and I buy whatever solves the job the best. I use every make and model and brand of whatever's out there.
Oh, I agree. I would never tell anybody on any kind of a public forum that I have that moss or I have a bunch of Scenic Express, but I do.
Well,
I
everybody
wouldn't,
makes
I
good
wouldn't want it
products.
to get out to the public, though, you know.
Well, yeah, and everybody makes good products. There's Woodland Scenics has good products, and other brands have good products, and they don't all make the same thing. It's not like Woodland Scenics and Scenic Express and everybody are exact copycats of each other. Not at all. They all have distinctly different things,
Well,
like the leaf
you
material.
got to have the variety. It doesn't look natural if you don't.
Absolutely. I mean, Woodland Scenics makes the best static grass I've got a hold of. I tried to order some knock static grass, but it was going to come out of Croatia or something, and I was going to have to find 2 indentured servants and a donkey to get it brought to me. Um, but my favorite static grass, hands down, is the Woodland Scenic static grass, which I've done some really cool stuff with brown India ink, making it look like the undergrowth pine needles that make a pine needle forest floor. Just laying the static grass down without the applicator, and then going back and coloring it with the India inks. It looks like a big matte forest of dead pine needles.
Really?
Sacrilege that you would actually think of coloring a perfect color. I'm kidding. Okay.
And I've been doing a lot of coloration to applied static grass to get differentiation in colors. I've been doing it mostly with diluted India inks.
I've been using that Heike static grass.
I haven't tried that one yet either, but yeah, I like everything. I like Heike
Really
stuff.
good results out of that.
Yeah, I get it. The more variety you have, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, mixing and matching products together, and my favorite application, I don't like static grass. Actually, if you just take a manufacturer's single bottle of static grass, put it in an applicator, and apply it, I don't like it at all. It's not. I like varying colors and varying sizes. I've been using some 2 and some 5 mil together, some 2 light green and some 5 mil that's kind of buff colored, with wonderful results. So it's. I don't like consistency. I don't like anything that looks like a piece of rolled out grass mat from when I was a kid. You've got to have all this, just so much variety in color.
Well, go out and look at nature. Nothing is exactly the same. Even the grasses, the bushes, or whatever.
Well, there's no
Take a
consistency.
variety.
There's 9 colors in every patch of grass anywhere or anything. So.
Yep.
Look at your trees too. You got all different colors there, darks, lights.
Yep. And I've been using a couple different materials to make trees. I've made some some oak trees which keep their leaves through the winter, so they have brown leaves on them. And even in the springtime, some oak trees don't come back, or they don't come back as fast, and they still have brown leaves on them in my model of springtime. And I did get some brown leaf material from this Selkirk leaf company that I'm so fond of for the leaf flake, but it's too doggone consistent. I use tobacco. I quit smoking years ago, but I went and asked my wife for a cigarette. She about had a heart attack. But I cut it up and cut it up real good with scissors and everything, and made a dried oak tree with it, and it's wonderful results.
Just don't forget and smoke it one night.
Yeah, no risk of that. I'm done with the smoking business.
We had a real good modeler here in Kansas City for the longest time. He was a chain smoker, and he weathered everything with cigarette ash, the black, the grays, and whatever. A little alcohol and cigarette ash, and he was weathering all kinds of stuff.
It works.
Wow, ashes and alcohol.
It works.
What a thought. What a color that would have to give you. And it would have some variances. It would have a little black in it. It would have a little brown left in it that didn't burn.
Yep.
Yeah, gotta give that a go. And it's exactly modeling with the real thing. The thing I love about using dirt is that's exactly what's out there. We're just bringing it inside and using it on the layout. And I model a steam era, so everything's going to be covered in soot, smoke, and ash anyway.
There you go, Andy.
Andy,
Sir.
do us a big favor. When you go to ask your wife for her cigarette ashes, do it on camera.
Yeah. Listen, she's already convinced I'm crazy, so I mean, you guys aren't going to get. She's past the fact that I'm crazy.
Andy.
Yeah, bud.
Check out my screen.
And then just run them through a filter a little bit or something, possibly. I screen about everything.
No, I say look at my screen.
Yeah, big old bottle, Ashes.
Ashes.
Yep. And look at the variances in color. There's 3 or 4 colors of monochromatic, monochrome gray one. Yeah, man.
I use it at the steam engine facilities to represent real ash. I use it, like Miles said, mixing it, using it for coloring.
What about mixing it with coal? I'm trying to make cinder right now. In the 50s, of course, they used cinder along the sides of the roadbed before the EPA would have thrown them out of the country. But they used alongside the roadbed to keep weeds down. And I'm finding a hard time finding. So I make ballast out of leveling sand, screened leveling sand, and white grout to get the right gray color, white unsanded grout. But cinder has proven to be a very elusive. It's very flat. I'm using real coal for my coal loads, but cinder is very flat in color, so it's not coal. So maybe you can mix coal with something to make it flat, and it has more of a grayish tone to it. And
anybody that wants coal, let me know. I've got 2 big, large tubs of nut-sized coal that I'm grinding up to make scale coal with.
Yep. I got a buddy who works in the coal industry. He works at a sampling lab where they have all the grinds that can make it exactly to the right size. So we're using, I've got to do the math, and he's going to grind it for me, but I'm going to do the math on what a particulate size needs to be for mined coal versus coal that's been washed and run through a prep plant. I've got to get, and when I get those numbers to him, he's going to get me some big old bags of the stuff. But
well, anybody else that can't get it, anyone else that can't get it wants it. I've got this pasta sauce jug. I've already ground some up for it and put it into N scale size, N scale screening. But I'll I'll give you guys a quart jar if you need it.
What do you guys think about using live loads? I was going to make coal inserts, but I've been thinking about just filling my cars up running live loads. It will make me do good track work.
That or you're going to create an awful lot of natural scenery.
Yeah. But I've been seeing some other people do it, Mike Conflon, some other people running live loads, and I'm just like, I'm kind of interested in the idea.
Well, that would give you an animation part of your railroad. Take your cars and dump them. Get you a little homemade conveyor underneath, and take it from there to say 2-3 feet away to a loading area where it will pick it up and put it into a loader, pull your car under it, and reload the coal.
Yeah, and years ago, 20 years ago, I had a little coal loader that was magnetic and not some lifelike thing. It was weird. It had these little Y that come down, and it loaded cars. It was horribly animatronic. But NS Modeler 24 or whatever, that guy. Everybody's watched him on YouTube. He's awesome. He's got a live loader that actually looks really good.
It's got the brass insert in it.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And he has a rotary dumper on the top deck, which doesn't fit with my prototype to unload coal where I am necessarily. But I have an unloading facility too because I have a washer for a prep plant. But I don't know, the animatronics of loading and unloading. It seems that's really hard to scale down. Make it function right and still look prototypical. It's this whole thing that we can't make.
The guy's got HO, and he's running it on that, and it works good.
Oh, they do. It just seems like all those animatronic things in HO scale, we're fighting against the fact that gravity doesn't negotiate, and, I would love it if we could scale gravity to 1:87. That'd be awesome. But it seems like it's really hard to make something that is very realistic looking, functioning, etc., and still animated on a model railroad. So I've always kind of steered. I used to like that stuff and was fascinated by doing that, but these days I kind of stay clear of that. Now, if I was in O scale, which I'd love to be, O scale 2 rail, I'm fascinated by, I would do some animation.
Do you ever get up to the Amherst train show?
I'm thinking I went to an Amherst a long time ago.
There's a guy that built an HO, animated, working, very realistic, super realistic looking loader, and then he turned around, and he's a machinist, Then he turned around and built a rotary dumper. And
Is
they
that
literally
the
sent
power?
that thing about 500 or 600 feet around the railroad when they set it up. He loads, and then they send it around the railroad, and they unload. And it is phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But the technology and the manufacturing processes and 3D printing and all things considered has got to a point where we can produce a tremendous high level quality of manufactured products. I mean, if they can make things that make this work like this, as small as this thing is, surely they can make dumpers and all that stuff. Um, and I may absolutely pursue it again. I like the idea of animation.
Yeah. Johnny, where are
Yes.
you located?
North Georgia.
You go to the Southeast Region Convention?
I haven't been to one. I need to go. I go to the Piedmont meetings every month.
Okay. Larry Smith's doing a clinic there this year. You get a chance to go.
Really?
Yeah, that's one over in Alabama, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, coming up.
Yeah. I just
I have to
got
go
sick
over.
of it.
Yeah, I have to go over because that's where Gino, Alabama Beltline, he's over there.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
told
for the
him we have to
info.
get together and I do a day trip over. 'Cause I'm not but just a couple hours from him.
Thanks for the info, Miles. That's one person I need to go see.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm going to give a plug because it's all part of YouTube Model Builders, but Barry and Mike are coming to Amherst this year to be part of the Model Railroad University program, and they're doing a clinics on JMRI and whatever. Larry Smith is coming to do some build clinics, hands-on. Like I said, I just cut 60 kits out for him today with the Cricut. But anybody did, we're not supposed to advertise, but this is a learning experience, so I figure it doesn't quite qualify the disqualify, whatever. If you get a chance to go to Amherst, go this year. It should be good in 2016.
If y'all have got your Q&A up, we got a question over. I'm not. I apologize. I don't quite understand. It says, tell me how to update OnePlus One 5.1 Lollipop.
That's an Android operating system question for Android smartphones. So I'm an IT guy, so I can help him, but that's a little off subject. So
Yeah. Sorry about that, but
Google is your best friend.
yeah, try Googling it. You may find your answer there.
yeah, and I swore off of Androids. So
Yeah. Bob, you got anything going on? Bob?
Well, I've had one heck of a day with my cell phone today, so that was the major problem today.
you're not trying to update the lollipop, are you?
No,
That's what you.
I've got an S6. I don't know what
I just watched
frickin'
a couple of
software
your
that is.
videos. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, he's trying to tell us he got nothing going on, but he just released that latest video, which is awesome.
Yeah. I
How
forgot
about a
that I had it
preview?
scheduled at 4. You wanted a preview?
Verbal preview of your latest video, what it's showing or whatever.
Oh,
Ad.
okay. Well, let's see.
Gotta go back to his notes, Cliff notes.
No, it was like my camera decided it was just gonna freak out again.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, it's got a hard
Start to
life. My
focus.
camera does too. So.
Well, mine just starts to lock up, so I just shut it off every once in a while. But anyway, my video is part 7, how to build an end-scaled trestle. And I made it out of wood. It's all hand-built. Stained it with, what was it, tanning stuff. I forgot what it's called.
Really?
Leather dye.
Yeah, leather dye, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Stuff here.
The same thing as tanning stuff.
Yeah. And you mix that with rubbing alcohol and, water it down a little bit. Or alcohol it down. Just make whatever color you want it to be. And Then I just cut all the pieces. There's 1,168 pieces in this trestle.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. There's supposed to be more, but I miscalculated and made it too short. I was like thinking, oh, I want something big.
Yeah.
And I forgot, well, I was going to put 2 inches of foam in there to hold the thing up. So I had to subtract some, but it still looks good.
Yeah, very good.
So,
Yeah, I see it behind you.
yeah, so part 7 is basically the final stage of the trestle itself. It's not the final video in the series because I'm going to add in all the scenery stuff that I'm doing on it. So if you haven't seen it, here it is. It's not just smoke and mirrors on YouTube, you know, it's in reality right here.
Bob, do you know Gil Freitag down in Houston, Texas?
No, I don't think so.
Incredible modeler.
He's won more gold awards at the National NMRA, I think, than anybody else ever.
Yeah.
He was doing a clinic on bridges. Well, actually, he was doing a clinic on clearances in your railroad and how to keep things away so people wouldn't ruin them.
Mm-hmm.
He came in with a bridge similar to what you've got. No kidding. Big old trestle bridge, took probably 100+ hours or so. And to get everybody's attention at the start of the clinic, he said, you never want to put something where somebody can lean over. He leaned over his bridge and crushed it.
Oh, man.
And everybody went silent, and he had 100% undivided attention.
That's one way to do it. Yeah. Yeah, many times I was, had just the decking. Come on, focus. I had just the decking glued together, and I'd be moving it around, and I had it in 2 pieces, more of the straight section and then the curved part. And I didn't want to glue them all together because it would be too much leverage and weight and everything else. Many times I said, "Oh, this is pretty solid." No, it slipped, and 3 pieces. Man, I got to glue it back together. I even had some of the trestle bent legs glued to half of it in that first part of the video. I just kind of had every 2 inches, and I'd move that, and it kind of like I was tipping it upside down to put something on, and it just kind of snapped. Glue that back together. So yeah, it's a little bit of a trial and error, but that's what's good about wooden glue. Just do it over.
Phil, you had a question earlier. Phil, you still with us?
Yeah.
No, Mr. Phil.
Oh, Phil.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. I didn't know you had a question. It wasn't in the Q&A.
No, I can't. I put it in the Q&A, but everybody was talking back and forth, and I didn't want to just blurt it out.
Well, holler break.
Break.
Okay. We have a lot of cottonwood trees here in Michigan around our rivers, and everybody's always talked about modeling oaks and pine trees, but nobody's really ever talked about any other specific brands of trees and how to model them. And I was just wondering, cottonwood, has anybody got any suggestions on modeling cottonwood trees?
I need to Google a picture of a cottonwood to see about reproducing it. I am trying to reproduce some dogwoods right now with the white flower colors that happen in springtime, and I've got some techniques for that, but I'd like to see a picture of a cottonwood because I don't think we have those. I don't know if we have them in our neck of the woods or not. Maybe we do.
Well, let me see if I can find
I'm
them.
not sure.
They grow pretty tall. I know
I'm
I
not sure
climbed
if
them
we
when I
do
was
or not.
kid.
What was that, Scott?
So I'm not sure if we got that down in our area or not.
They're very sparse. Yeah, it's very thin down here, but you'll find cottonwood every now and then.
Well, let's see a picture of it, because that's the trick to all this stuff anyway. It's all replicate the picture. So, I mean, I got pictures stuck up everywhere, and I mean, I've seen trees all my life, but until I started having to try to model trees here recently, did I realize as much as I've learned about trees, there's so much variety and variance, and you look at a patch of green trees, there's 27 colors of green in those 10 trees, and I've said only half humorously here lately that I'm gonna have to give up on model railroading. There's not enough time for the actual railroad part. I'm just gonna be a tree modeler because I gotta spend so much time doing it. And
Welcome to the
honestly,
club.
yeah, well, if you want to accurately model Appalachia, trees are more critical than anything else.
Yep. Trees are critical on just about any layout. Depending on what area you are, you have to make sure that you don't mix a true northern tree into a southern or vice versa.
And size. That's the thing I think most modelers get wrong. And something that Mr. Barry Helm mentioned on a video one time about, not too long ago on one of the Trainmaster TV videos about how people model trees too small. I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm modeling 11 and 12-inch trees in HO scale to get that 80-foot tree that I should be modeling. But I'll tell you what, I built a couple hundred trees so far, and it will make you very curious about Arizona railroading.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You need to get your wife to build the trees for you.
Yeah. I had this grand idea. She's artsy as she can be, paints and draws and sews and you name it. She does artsy stuff. I thought getting back into the hobby a little while ago would be a great thing for us because she's artsy. She'd get into it. She'd do the artsy stuff with me. It would it has encouraged me to work less and be home more. Nah, not the first bit of interest.
That's like I'm modeling northern Pennsylvania, southern New York. Now, there's an area in New York up there, and guy was telling me, "Oh, you gotta have pine trees and all that. That's the northern trees." And when I did a research on the area, there was no pine trees or firs or anything in a particular area. Most of it was regular deciduous trees.
I find cedar one of the harder ones to replicate myself. That's not, Philip, that wouldn't be too hard to reproduce. It's just thin foliage. I'm a big fan of the leaf flake material for doing trees myself with. I would use a super tree as a base myself, and I use multiple super trees glued together. And I would suggest doing that. So what I've done, here, let me turn my video back on.
Yeah, I'd say the leaf flake will work great for that.
Yeah, man. And I put some light on this, and I'll show you. This is super trees, and I glued 3 of them together at the base, and then used wood filler to fill out the fact that there's 3 trees, 3 stalks there, and make it round. And then I took my wire brush that I use for scratching my ties with, and kind of tore it up a little bit, took the back of an X-Acto, etc. And then I dry brushed it in a few colors after spray. I spray all the trees with this camouflage, Rust-Oleum camouflage dark color first, and then I use that one to mist them with some too. These colors are absolutely your friend. Everybody ought to have this set of camouflage colors. But I think to replicate those cottonwoods, if you took some of this and only kept the foliage material or the branch structure and armature from the top of the tree and left the main part of the trunk more lean, and build it up and get a big solid trunk. That's my only problem with the super trees, is that they look like little skinny sticks, which is fine for background scenery and for building a dense forest, but for your foreground trees, you've got to do something to build those things up to make them look like they could actually hold themselves up. And especially for that cottonwood tree.
That right there is the bark on it. It's wider and deeper than what like an oak tree is.
Well, if you take this wood filler, great material to work with, and while it's still let it get, okay, you can't mess with it while it's wet because it just comes off in chunks. But if you let it get dry, but to where it's slightly spongy, you can take the back of the X-Acto knife and do a lot of damage to it. Just be gentle and work slowly. And you can put those big deep grooves in there, then spray it with this dark color, and then brush the surface, but leave the, dry brush it so that the deep crevices stay dark. And they would be deep, but they would look even deeper because of the color variance.
Right.
Sorry, I'm going to leave you guys, but have a good evening. Enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, Miles, appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye, Miles.
Good night, Miles.
See you later, Miles.
Bye, Miles.
He gone.
You say the super trees. Who makes that, or what is it?
Scenic Express. Scenic Express sells it. It looks like that. Comes looking like this.
What you've been making everything out of? Okay.
Most everything. I've used a few other materials. I'm using, and I'd give anything if I knew what this was. I'm using. All right, hang on. You guys can't see nothing about that.
Good night, Andrew.
I use.
Catch you later, Andrew. You have a good
Night,
night.
Andrew.
See, bud. I use some of this
Bye,
right
Andrew.
here, which I find out, just outside. I wish I knew what this stuff was by name, but I'm using this too to make, to add some variance to what I'm doing. And this makes really good dead trees and dead fall material. Super trees do not make good dead fall tree material at all. They make good looking live trees, and that's it.
Yeah, I've got a hedge bush that sits right there at my smoker, and it's died of cholesterol. So I've been kind of looking at it and see what kind of tree armatures I might be able to get out of it before I pull it up.
Well, everything's good like that. They say blueberry bushes is a really popular one, but hedges in general are great for getting armatures out of. And you can't just use super trees. They're way too consistent if you just fill your forest with super trees and stick some pines in. You've got to have some variance.
Yeah, they're
Something
kind
really
of
pretty
expensive. Yeah, they're kind of expensive too.
There's that too. They're time consuming to work with because really to make them like this one I just pulled out of the box, it has holes and spots in it. So I have to take, smaller pieces of material and glue them in, and you have to work them. So they make great fodder for the main forest body without a lot of work. And as you get further toward the foreground, you have to start working them a lot. And then you have to do what I did with that tree I pulled down that has 3 of them glued together that took me 8 hours or something, or 6 hours anyway, to produce a couple of those. So anything I can find like this that adds some diversity is a good deal.
Does anybody make their own armatures?
Tried. I made some out of some root material, and I tried wire brush or wire material, which is where I bought the putty to do, and wire. And man, oh man, that was time consuming.
But does it turn out looking better if you make it yourself?
I'll tell you what. In N scale, I think doing some wire armatures would be pretty nice.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do it on the cheap. Chances are you get a bunch of wire lying around or get some leftover stuff somewhere.
You can take, if you got any old extension cords you're not using anymore, just strip them down and then take all the strands, put them together and twist them up, but not all the way, about halfway up, and then start doing your branches, about 3-4 pieces of wire and twist that so they'll stay together.
John,
that'll work.
Yeah, I can see that, Bill.
that is a homemade wire armature.
Okay.
You bring that up, Johnny?
Yeah, I was trying to get over it now.
Yeah, the focus isn't the greatest, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But that's a homemade wire armature. And if you look at the base of it, it's all copper wire.
You got a piece of white paper, Bill, you can put behind that. It'll show up better.
Find one that's clean and not a bunch of writing on it. Yeah, hang on a second.
If you can find your bank statement with your account name and a number on it.
Well, that's what that was. Anyway, let's turn this over where the paint's off of it. But
there you go, right there. Right there.
Okay, that's done with. What I do is I find old radio equipment, TV sets, and stuff like that, and I'll have my grandson. Well, I used to have my grandson strip them out and take all the copper wire. Now, there's coils on the old tube sets, and that's usually what they throw out. And you take that coil off the neck of the picture tube and take the wire off of that, and that's what this is.
You putting wood putty or anything on there to make the trunk part, or?
Usually I just coat it with a little bit of molding clay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to figure out how people were doing that. I've seen some wire twisted up, but I wasn't sure if they're just putting some solder on it to keep it from coming loose.
You might could put a drop on there, but if you twist it tight, it shouldn't come loose.
Yeah.
What I do is I take a bunch of strands. Usually I cut 2 or 3 long, and then a couple shorter, and then a couple little more short. I take a pair of pliers and I hold on to it, and then take another pair of some very small vice grips and hook onto the end of it and sit there and twist it.
Right.
I'll do about 4 or 5 twists. That'll give you the trunk. Then you can take the rest of it and bend them all out in the way that you want to put them. And this one has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 40, about 50 strands of that wire. It's fine wire, but it turns out a halfway decent tree for the N scale. Now, of course, HO scale and all, you'd want to go a little bit thicker wire. A friend of mine who had an O scale layout actually made his own trees wire armature by taking 12 2 with ground and stripping all the casing off of it, and then putting 5 or 6 pieces together and twisting that. And that's pretty heavy wire, but it turned out some nice looking trees for him.
Have you got any old extension cords laying around that the fire department won't approve of? You can use those to cut them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a battery drill.
And
Those
those
that get chopped up with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And I use floral tape. It's a resin impregnated paper tape material. I use that when I'm sticking multiple trees together. And unlike like paper tape or something that peels off over time and whatever, this doesn't, and you can press it together and rub it to make it smooth. You could, and actually Mike Confalone puts this material on multiple, he takes multiple sticks and sticks them together, and then just puts this resin tape on them, and then rubs them smooth, and then paints them, and that's his background trees, just like that. But I use it and then cover it in the putty. So this floral tape is well, I mean, it's exactly for the purpose we're talking about, actually. So
Making
Yeah,
flowers.
that's another thing too. If you can get to a florist, you ask them if you can get a pack of their wire. Floral wire also make nice armatures.
yeah, that's what I would use, and I have used is the floral wire, and you can buy. I mean, Walmart has a floral section that, or at least some of them do, even, and of course Michaels and Hobby Lobby, but they have the wire in a couple different gauges and sizes, and it has like an enamel on it or something, so that like paint and wood putty and those kind of things stick to it much better than just raw copper wire. Although I will say I would do exactly what Bill and Johnny were saying, and cut up extension cords just because, man, you can build a lot of trees out of an extension cord. But the floor wire is $2 or $3 for a little roll of it. But if you use it in certain areas selectively, and but I am a big fan of the floral tape.
Come on, focus. Stupid camera.
That's the reason why I delete the autofocus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never works for me either.
Now, if I had some really thick glasses on, I probably could see myself.
What camera do you use? Do you use that camera for your YouTube videos, or do you have a camcorder?
Oh, a camcorder.
Yeah. I need to just buy one.
That's going off. Doesn't want to focus at all. But it's a Microsoft one. It's just, I think it's kind of dark in here.
Oh, okay. I see.
There's the other problem too.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their
Just
brand
kidding.
preferences, but for
Just
me,
kidding.
if Logitech makes it, I'm a fan of it. I like Logitech stuff really well. Logitech keyboards are nice, awesome. I love the Logitech webcams. I ordered a set of those Logitech headphones like Johnny's got. You know, I decided to not be original and join the cool kids with a set of those wireless headphones that everybody's raving about. And they still have not come in.
Really.
Yeah, it's been over a week.
Hmm.
When did you
Well,
order
I'll tell you
some
what.
like that?
Tell you what, gentlemen, I'm going to interrupt just for a second for our usual public announcement. Thursday night hangouts are the proud sponsor of the YouTube Model Builders community, the e-magazine, and the YouTube Model Builders live show. The website is YouTubeModelBuilders.com. You can go to the website, pick up the schedules for both the live show, which is once a month, third Saturday of the month, and the schedule for the Tuesday night presentation shows, which each week has a different moderator and a different subject. We have Dude, Troy, Gino, Barry. All of those are the ones on Tuesday night that you'll see. Of course, Thursday night is always a general discussion. So that way, if you have a question you want to ask, hopefully get an answer to, or just something you want to talk about, as long as it's strange, you got it. So, the eMag, that comes out bi-monthly. That's every 2 months. So you can also sign up to get an email notification at YouTubeModelBuilders.com. So when it does come out, you'll get notified, so you can go download it and read it. JD and his team does a very good job on those e-magazines. In fact, this last one, he was a special issue, so he's very proud of it. He and his team both did a great job on it. And that concludes the midpoint public announcement. Back to the regular show.
Is there a way to click off those commercial ads?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, there is, Bob, but you pay more money.
Oh, okay.
It costs more to do without the ads.
Figures.
I try to keep them short and sweet.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing all right. How about you?
Good.
Good.
See, since the boss isn't here now, I can say little stuff like that every now and then. I just noticed he wasn't here. He dropped out.
He might be watching you.
Nah. Without his headphones, he can't hear a thing. Like some people without glasses, they can't see.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ready for a new subject? I've got a question maybe somebody can help me with.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
It is railroad related. It's using JMRI. I want to set up a dedicated router on a PC. A wireless router. First of all, can I have two different ones running in the same house? And second of all, how easy is it to do that?
Yes, you can, but you have to have them on different frequencies.
Yeah, or channels. They call them channels.
Channels.
Now, here, most wireless routers these days, anything bought in the last 5 or 6 years, will by default use the auto setting for wireless channel. And if you have two of them and they're both set to auto, they will stay away from each other if they're halfway intelligent. So just buy a decent wireless router, set them to 2 different SSIDs, which is what your wireless is named. Mine's named Crawford's, and I have one for the railroad called Clinch Valley RR. Separate, totally separate wireless router, etc. I just let them both be set to auto. They choose their own channel, and they don't conflict or give me any trouble.
Yeah, that's why I look at either.
The Belkin brand has got a switch actually on it, but you can switch, like, I think there's 4 different channels and an automatics.
And typically wireless, there's 14 channels of wireless. 11 are authorized by the FCC in this country. 4, that is for 2.4 gigahertz. But if I would recommend at this point in the game spending a slight bit more money and buying one that supports the 5 gigahertz frequencies. If you're using iPods or any recent Android devices, most of them are supporting the 5 gigahertz frequency ranges, and things don't conflict with them as much. So, for example, 2.4 gigahertz is like, we all know how many things conflict with that, cordless phones and things like that. But microwaves wipe out wireless networking at 2.4 gigahertz. So I would recommend buying a 5 gigahertz supporting 802.11n that supports 5 gigahertz, and those are a different set of channels.
Does that run them both then? If you have the older devices that doesn't support 5?
Yeah, it will support both of them. However, what happens typically, so you can buy multi-channel wireless radios or single-channel. If you buy a single radio wireless router, then it will use the least common denominator. So if you have an old device that's 2.4 gigahertz 802.11g, then all of your other devices will work at that slower speed, lower frequency. But that's another good thing about separating the radio for me. I have my normal wireless, but now if you buy a dual radio, then one of your radios can run at the older frequency and one at the newer frequency. But a good thing about separating the radio, or the railroad wireless, is the only things connected to my railroad wireless are the handful of iPods that I bought to be throttles. And they all support the new frequency, and they will all just work at that higher frequency. And then whoever comes to your house and wants to join your wireless, or if you have an old laptop or whatever, all those things will be on your regular household wireless and won't affect how your railroad wireless works at all. But I also say that JMRI and Y-throttle running on an iPhone really doesn't require much bandwidth to work. It can work on a pretty crappy wireless signal and just truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I had some guys over last night, and we were having problems with it dropping out. And I don't know if because my router is upstairs or not, so I figured either I want to get a second router on the same, as a range extender, or else just put in a whole, separate router down here that's not hard,
Yeah. I'd run a second one.
I would too. I despise range extenders. If there's no other choice, then a range extender. But if you needed multiple radios to cover an area, like my house requires a couple wireless access points also, and I bought, years ago I had open mesh, but I would buy Ubiquiti wireless access points. They have a meshing technology, and they're not very expensive, $60 a piece or something. They're just wireless access points, and they mesh. So you can have 200 of them on a college campus, and they will just broadcast one wireless, and it will seamlessly stitch it all together for you. And they're easy to set up with a little cloud control panel thing. But they're more setup work than is necessary. And my house has all Apple wireless stuff now, and it also does that meshing thing. But if you just put a separate one right in your railroad room, that's all that it does is just the railroad stuff, it will really make your life a lot easier, I think.
Yeah.
Have a good night, Scott. We'll catch you later.
Hey, Scott.
Thank you for coming.
So do you want your computer to actually access the normal house internet and the railroad at the same time, or
No.
separately?
More than likely, yeah, just so I wouldn't have to bring another laptop down or something.
Well, if you plug it into the switch, it'll still be able to get to the internet and connect to the normal things. Mostly.
Yeah, but I'll have to
get a wire
back up to my broadband router then, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Then you're connecting it.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is if you're using the same computer for both things, but you want to keep them separate because you're on 2 different networks, you either got to do it with a physical switch on your network cable.
Yeah.
So it goes, so you can say, okay, I want the train router right now, and I want the internet right now. You just flip it over and connect.
And my Railroad Road Wireless has internet and can connect to my storage server, and this computer that I'm using now to talk to you guys on, I do other things with, browse the internet and have movies stored on it that I can watch on my Apple TV. But it does also run my JMRI and all that stuff. But like Devon's saying, it's it's having a switch there. My computer that runs JMRI and stuff is hardwired in, and then the only things that use my wireless are like, well, laptops and stuff. But as far as the railroad's concerned, the only thing that uses wireless is the iPods and phone and iPad, that kind of thing. But my computer running JMRI is on a wired Ethernet connection, and I find that works better for me.
Yeah. I should have it wired at least to the router.
Yeah, the computer running JMRI will be a lot better if it's wired. That way, it's this least common denominator thing. If your computer is connected to wireless and your iPods are connected to wireless, every device you add to wireless divides that signal. So an 802.11g can do 54 megabits in theory, and in reality more like 45 megabits. But if you put two devices on it, they get 22, and it's even less if there's some distance away from the router. And if you put 4 on it, they're getting 11 megabits apiece. So as you start adding devices, they start cutting into it. That's fine for the iPods, but it's not so fine if 4 or 5 or 6 iPods have to talk back to a computer that only has 8 megabits of available wireless bandwidth. So if you wire the computer in, it has plenty of bandwidth, and the iPods only have to have what they need for just themselves.
Yeah.
So I guess the way I'm looking at it right now is basically two options. One would be a standalone computer down here in the basement with a router, wireless router, and not connected to the internet.
Right.
The other option would be to go ahead and connect it to the internet, in which case I'd have to run a network cable back upstairs and connect to the broadband modem.
Yeah, that's what I do,
Right.
Chris. I've got an older computer with XP on it, and it's dedicated for the railroad. And I run the router into that. I'm using a Belkin router.
You can also do something Ethernet over power. You can also get power line networking just for backhauling, is what we call it in the technology world, to your internet connection. So you would have a wireless hotspot downstairs and a little switch. You'd have a power line networking, which is you plug the computer in and then plug it into the wall, and it uses your power lines to
I've
the network center. And that is absolutely, it's not fast. It's not what you would want to share files or stream high-definition video. But for letting your railroad room devices on that wireless have access to the internet, it's completely adequate for that. And you wouldn't have to run a wire. It would just use the power line to get back.
Miles of antenna.
If I put it on the internet, I'm more than likely going to be using it for exactly what we're doing right now, for one thing. So,
I think you would want internet on it, in my opinion. You're going to want to update the iPods and not have to fool with going upstairs to do all that. I think you would want internet on it, and I don't see that it hurts anything to have internet, but I do agree with the guys who are saying that a separate railroad room wireless. JMRI, I mean, there's a lot to it, and it's a complicated beast on its own, and I find that it works better with dedicated computer, dedicated wireless, all that jazz, and just let it do its thing. And then you can focus on working on JMRI issues and not spend all your time troubleshooting normal computery stuffs.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to try and get rid of the. Some reason both Android and iPhone last night were just occasionally dropping out, and it seemed, I don't know if it was, it seemed to be the phones and not actually JMRI.
Yep. That's the most common expectation. And then the floor really hurts wireless, so the fact that your wireless is upstairs and having to pour down into the basement would be more of a problem. So I put my wireless access point for my railroad right here in the room with it, and that's what I would do too.
That's what I want to try and do, because I know this, when you go through an angle through all those floor joists, that adds up.
Yep.
Compounds,
And distance hurts bandwidth, and number of devices hurt bandwidth. So when you put those two things together, a lot of devices and a lot of distance to your wireless router, you're just compounding the problem. So if you put it right there, then you can have a bunch of devices. And since we're talking about using this throttle thing with JMRI, which is how I'm going to run my whole railroad, Mike Deverall, another great YouTube channel that we should all be following. He does a Colorado joint line. whatever. He's got a great channel. He does great modeling. He was talking about going to Walmart, buying $30 Android smartphones like you would buy for a prepaid phone service, but not getting the prepaid phone service, just buying the Android things.
This one, I paid $15 for that one after.
Yep.
I paid $30, but I got a $15 food card with it. So.
Yeah, but you could buy a few of those devices. Great throttles, cheap as dirt. If somebody drops one and breaks it, you're out 15 or 20 bucks, and it's a great throttle.
And I've got my daughter's old iPod. That one works too.
I'm an Apple guy anyway, so I'm always going to say I like Apple stuff better. But my iPhone 6 Plus was a little large for one-handed operation of the throttle, so I went and bought some iPod 5th generation, the most recent iPod Touch, and because they're perfect for one-handed, and that's what I'm using. I've got I got 3 of them to use as throttles.
What are they getting for those nowadays?
Well, they were more expensive. I mean, they were, I don't know, $200 and something a piece, but I bought them new. I mean, you can buy them on eBay and save some money too, but I wanted good battery life and all that stuff. And I always feel good about any time I spend money on Apple stuff because the stuff just works for me, and I just like, I've got a Mac Mini that runs JMRI. I've got Apple Wireless. I have an iPhone 6 Plus that I'll run a throttle on sub, and the iPad Mini is a great throttle for like a yard situation where I can kind of set it on this little shelf I've got for writing switch lists and stuff. I could set it right there on the shelf, and I can use dual throttle. So I could, like when I'm running, if I want to run the helper myself as separate throttles, I have 2 throttles side by side on the iPad Mini.
Yeah, it's just a little steep. If I was going to spend $200 for a kid, I don't want to lose.
Well, and a lot of people who are using the Y throttle on an iPhone or Android say that the response of the throttle on the Y throttle is actually faster. You wouldn't think so because it's jumping through a lot more hoops, but they suggest that the response is actually better.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed that, but I guess I haven't paid attention either. So.
Yeah, I'm not far enough on my railroad that I can establish an opinion. I'm just listening to other people say that.
Yeah, when Dave gets back, I want to see if he'll show off his shaper sheet.
Oh, yeah.
His work's looking so good. I had his screen focused a couple minutes ago, just checking all of it out. He just moves so doggone fast. He kills me, man. I mean, he's like, the other day, me and him and a couple of us were on just a small hangout with a couple people, and he's like, I think I'm going to tear this out and put this new track here and maybe put a bridge. I just been thinking about it. I'm like, yes, sir, you absolutely ought to do that. That sounds awesome. And here we are a week later, and he's got mountains, and people moved into the houses. And...
Hey, Dave.
Hey, we're talking about you, buddy.
Dave, can you hear us? Your mic work?
I don't know. Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, barely.
Right here.
Is that all shaper sheet?
Mike's in the other room, apparently.
All right. Dave, you mind talking a little bit about your shaper sheets there? What you think about them and all? Everybody's curious.
I like them. They ain't worth no $30 a roll, though. I can tell you that right now. But I like what they do. They're nice and solid. I'm just tinkering, man. I'm just going for it.
What about making them? You were talking about they're just heavy aluminum foil with something on the surface. What if a person took spray adhesive, sprayed aluminum foil, and stuck something on the... What would it be like to manufacture that?
Well, what they got is they got some kind of adhesive on the foil itself. So it runs through a machine that applies adhesive, then it goes through a machine that applies gauze, then it goes through a machine that applies felt, and then it probably gets rolled up after that.
So what would it be? You think a man could take those couple materials and some spray adhesive and slap them together and get anything close to the same result?
You might try it. I don't think that it would last though.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, didn't you do that one time, Dave?
Yeah, but I used butcher paper on foil.
Yeah.
I didn't use gauze or felt. That might be a whole better way to do it.
I'm thinking if you just take exactly what those materials look and feel like to you, and then, whatever you think they are, Yeah, Bill, that looks just like the iPhone app, identical. That's called like Engine Driver or something?
Yeah, it's a JMRI engine driver.
Yeah, and Y Throttle is the iPod, iPhone, iPad version of the same app, and it looks identical. Shoot, hang on.
Yeah, I run this on the Android.
Yeah, the engine driver is nice because there's so many options on it compared to the Y throttle. Although I haven't paid for the paid version yet of Y throttle, but
Yeah, see, I use this Wi-Fi, so it, we control the trains that way.
if you go into the settings on the Android version, the engine driver, there's just so many things you can do with it, including putting up any of your web screens right on the bottom of your throttle if you want.
Yep. The best part about it is if you go into the background of it, you can actually set a CV with it.
Really?
Right,
You,
yeah, right
I
from the
haven't tried that one yet.
you can't do that with the iPhone version.
Android.
Go figure.
Oh, whatever. You got all the world. You got one thing on me, you Android people.
Can you change your throttle to a button instead of a slider?
I haven't tried that.
Well, that you can do with the Android, I know that.
Well, this is Android, but I haven't tried that yet.
No, can't. You can make it what they call a switcher style, so that it has forward and reverse is just on one throttle bar. You slide up for forward, slide down for reverse, as opposed to having to flip the little switch, the buttons. But no, it does not have a button up and down, which I wouldn't want the button up and down, but I'll tell you what I would love to have is actual notches. Instead of having a slider, I would like to have notch one
You
through
can
eight.
actually set the notches on here too.
Yeah. Well, what I like about this is that I can move the slide to the center and go up for forward, bring it back to center, and go down for reverse.
Yeah, that's the yard mode.
Right.
Once this one fires up, I'll show you what I'm talking about, Andy.
Have you all seen Dave's bridge?
Not lately.
He weathered it using salt. Man, I'll tell you what, that thing looks fantastic.
I second that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's right here in his picture. Looks like it's mounted.
Where's the picture?
On a screen.
Presented.
Oh.
He's presented to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got locked in on Dave there. I'm still not seeing it though.
It's a little blurry. I think it's the bridge that's going right across that other track.
Oh, the one Dave's working on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right there where he's pointing.
Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, it was a little blurry. So.
Yeah.
So how much of that? What I'm seeing is $30 worth of shaper sheet.
All of it?
All of it?
It's on the backdrop. All this other stuff is newspapers and fabric softener sheets dunked in plaster.
So all that vertical, that's $30 worth, or do you still have more you didn't
No,
use?
it's actually like $30 in a piece.
Yeah, but did you use the whole roll for that backdrop?
I did.
Just one roll?
A roll and a piece.
Okay. So it's just a little more than a $30 worth then.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to get some idea, because I only need a small area.
That looked like it covered a lot of area, and you got to figure your time as being worth something too. I mean, that just went together unbelievably fast, man. I was talking about that when you walked out of the room. You had this wild hair idea on a Hangout a couple weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's all done. Well, it ain't done, I get it, but I mean, there's a lot there that you were just talking about a week ago, so it went fast.
That was the main thing about shaper sheet, is to produce something quick.
It's fast, unbelievably fast. I was curious if there's a way to manufacture it, but I would pay $30 for something that turned a scene that quickly. I don't know how well it would mesh
Two
with.
different sizes of shaper sheet.
Yeah.
I got the large roll. And they make a smaller roll that's not as wide.
What are you showing, Chris?
All right, so this is my Android version, my engine driver.
Yep.
Let me see if
That's
I can
the
get
big roll.
you can't really see it, but down on the bottom here is actually my layout panel there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
And I changed, so I got 2 buttons here for accelerate and decelerate instead of a slider. That was an option you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And then up here in this, behind my finger where it says 0, and
Yep.
real tiny there, it says 28. I was actually able to set it to 28 speed steps, and then it reads the speed steps. So if I go advance this 2, 3, 4,
Oh yeah.
back down. And it's all customizable. Yeah, I can turn it back to make it look like Bill had it.
So what can you do with that web view of the control panel down there? I mean, I know with JMRI's web views you can see the control panels, and I was thinking about using cheap tablets in my fascia for actual control panels where you press buttons. But can you get in there and press buttons?
Yeah, you can actually, you got it, it'll pinch zoom and made it bigger.
Yeah, man.
And then if sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If I touch that, oh, now it went away. All right. I've had mixed results with it. But at the very least, you can watch it. The dispatcher is throwing and giving you permission to a track or something.
When I was thinking about buying, $100 Android tablets or, last generation Nexus 7s and just getting the wall mounts for them and mounting them to the front of the face at a couple control points, and you could just walk up and tap the screen just for the web view there.
Yeah. What's that guy that was on here? I can't think of his name. Dunks or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Tyreek. Dunk on
Tyreek.
chunks.
Tyreek uses both the phone and the pad.
Yeah, I have a tablet. I got it upstairs right now, but that's the one I'm actually going to try and use for like mobile dispatching.
Yeah.
I can do the same thing. I can have the throttle, and then below that I can have the web server serving up my layout panel, and you can actually throw switches. But I still had problems where all of a sudden there's a big latency. I don't know why, but also that delay is really bad. And
You'll fix that with the wireless you're doing.
it doesn't always update, quick enough, or sometimes at all for some reason. Although it will tend to actually make the switches throw, but then the panel display doesn't always update to match the actual conditions. So I'm wondering if that'll get solved by putting a server down here too, or a router.
It might, because your signal will be quicker.
Yeah, that'd be stronger.
Right.
And it might be something else, a setting somewhere or something. I'm thinking of posting that up to the JMRI Yahoo group one day and see what happens. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because I figure I can actually leave, instead of putting push buttons on my fascia, I can actually just set up a tablet right there, and they'll be able to actually see the layout, the occupied tracks, push the button right on the tablet to throw the switches.
Yeah.
Don't have to mount anything on the fascia or wire it or anything.
Yeah, it's all 100% DCC controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now I just have those 8 servos that I showed you guys a while back, but I should be ordering some more pretty quick here and doing more turnouts.
Yeah, I just got well, not just, it's been a couple of months ago now, but I've got a case of those servos in from China.
Oh, and, yeah.
The minis. And got 24 of them in a case, and I bought 3 cases.
Wow.
And they were $18 and change a case. Can't beat it.
Okay.
I got to
Yes,
get
I
the
can.
information from you about that.
I bought
Corey, I think the shipping cost me more than the servos did.
what I ordered was 10 servos for like $19. Those SG90s.
Yep.
Yeah,
They sent me 10 packages of 10 for $19.90.
Yeah, I'm not going to get that same deal though. They've done figured you out on that one.
Here's the difference.
I got 100 of them.
Uh-huh.
Here's the difference between Y throttle is the red one here.
Yeah.
The black one is Android that I reconfigured. But But like Bill showed before, the engine driver could end up looking just like the Y throttle if you prefer to have the slider right here.
Yep.
A lot of cool stuff when you start playing around with it.
Mm-hmm. So Johnny, I was talking to you the other night about Sculptamold.
Yeah.
Now, which brand of Sculptamold are you talking about? Woodland Scenics or
Yes.
the other one?
Yes. Willis
Okay.
Phoenix.
Okay,
That's the only one I've ever used.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's called Moldacine. So, because there's another one actually called Sculptamold.
Yeah, Moldacine, John, the special needs fellow I help on Tuesdays a couple of times a month.
Mm-hmm.
He bought the Moldacine, but it's fast drying like the Hydrocal. I read the box on it, and I told him for where his situation, that room gets hot and all like that, for him, it just wouldn't work. It's got too quick a drying time on it that smooth it'd be a lot better.
Yeah.
I used to smooth it out there at the store, and quite honestly, I liked it a little better 'cause I had better working time. You know, once it dried, even when I had it in areas where it got pretty thick, up to almost 7/16. Once it was dry, it didn't crack, and it still hasn't cracked.
Yeah, that's good stuff to make roads out of.
Yeah, that's what I was using it for, actually.
Yeah.
It's a crossing over a double track into a gravel road.
So you're using smooth it instead of Moldacine.
Yeah, smooth it gives you about, I'd say 10 minutes, 15 minutes working time. Very close to 15, really.
Yeah, I was looking at model train stuff, and they have American Art Clay Company they call Sculptamold. And that sets up in like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you cook it.
I read about that all the time, but I haven't seen it in the stores yet. What kind of store do you get that at?
Yeah. They don't have it in stock at model train stuff either, so.
I didn't kind of look at like a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's, and I haven't seen it yet either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only problem is, I mean, Woodland Scenics just costs you so much. It's only in like a quart milk jug, paper milk jug. Now, I think out there at the store it's, a little under $11, I think, a jug. So that's not much in there. I mean, you can pour a fair size, but.
Can I make a suggestion to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a insulation company around you somewhere, they have that gray blow-in insulation.
Yep.
A lot of times, I went down here to the one we have at the industrial park, and I asked them if I could get a Walmart bag full of the stuff and how much they charged me. Well, they went in the back and got me a bag full, and evidently somebody had another bag, a Walmart bag there, and they filled that one too. Brought them out and just gave them to me. I told them what I wanted to use it for. And I'll mix a mixture of plaster and baking soda together to retard it, and mix it into a 5-gallon bucket and use it for putting scenery on a layout. And as we're building a new section down on the HO gauge in Largo, and it took about a half hour for the stuff to set up. Boy, I tell you, the effect and the working with it, what you could do with it, fantastic.
So that's working kind of like vermiculite then. Gives you texture.
It gives you a partial texture unless you take your hand at the end and start smoothing it out. But it's actually a paper-based kind of a thing that is got fire retardant in it.
That's what the Sculptamold is too, is I do believe is a paper-based.
Paper mache, yeah.
Paper mache type stuff. That's what interested me about it, not having to mix plaster.
Yeah, well, I figured a 20-pound bag of plaster at Lowe's cost me $8, and it's just straight plaster of Paris, molding plaster.
I just hate the mess of working with plaster.
Yeah, and that stuff, it works good.
How many of you guys have heard of cloth shell scenery?
A what?
That's so a guy called a friend of mine. He lives in about an hour from here. I don't know if he had kind of invented it or not, but he certainly ran with it. He calls it cloth shell scenery. He takes like liquid nails type compound and spreads it out over old cloth, and he just stretches it out and lets it dry up. It's amazing. I mean, it's super simple, and it actually holds the shape. You really don't even need to put all that supporting lattice and stuff behind it, because it's kind of fairly stiff to start with. You take old shirts, towels, bed sheets, whatever, lays them out in like a 1 by 2 foot piece, and then squirts out some of the liquid nails type stuff, spreads it out with a spatula so it kind of covers the whole side, and then drapes it over whatever you want to drape it on.
Kind of like super sheet then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never heard of that.
But he actually wrote a book on it, and he ended up getting published, I think, in MR maybe a year ago. But he used to do clinics around here on it, and I've actually seen his layout, and it's amazing. That's all I can say.
Fairly lightweight too, probably.
Yeah. But he had a span like this wide from one like Fulham Hill to another, and he took that and he just draped it right across, and because it's so sticky, it didn't sag or anything, it didn't pull back in the middle. He just laid it right across that almost 10-inch gap, and because it's so sticky to start with, you just press it down and it held right in place until it dried, and good as can be, no support needed. Lightweight.
Well, I walked into the building down there and I had this smell, you know, and I'm looking around. I said, "Who's building something?" You know, it had this fiberglass resin smell. And when I went over to the corner, one of the guys had wooden supports cut out with chicken wire on it, and he's actually putting fiberglass woven cloth over it and soaking it down with the resin.
Oh.
And this thing went from the top of the table all the way up into the corner of the building, about 4 feet high, to make a high mountain area out of it. And it's lightweight, but boy, I'll tell you, the smell that you had to work with when you're in there.
Yeah.
That exhaust fans blowing out the doors and everything. But that's another way of doing something, you know, but you don't want to do it in your house. Your wife will be kicking you out.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're interested in that cloth shell, just Google it. It's called Cloth Shell Scenery by Greg Condon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think his book sold out right away, and I don't know if he ever went back to press with it. But it was just a small book, and he didn't charge much for it. You know, it was pretty interesting. I might actually try it myself when I get to that point, just because I'm so averse to using plaster.
Well, call him over to the house, feed him supper, and say, "Now, how did you do this stuff?" And just have everything right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, have your camera going on a Thursday night. Have them over.
Well, he built this monstrosity of a layout in less than a year. And, you know, because he said it's really, you're filling this whole basement, and because he said, I'm going to be moving in 4 years when I retire, and I don't want to make a hobby out of building a model railroad.
Yeah.
So in less than a year, he had it built and actually got published in a magazine and everything. And I do believe just about 6 months ago, he tore it down and moved.
Just to do it all over again.
Yeah, well, it's been like the 4th or 5th time. So he had all the structures and everything. But even the amount of bench work he built and everything, all the scenery, he had it fully scenic and everything in less than a year. And it was a large layout.
Well, at my age, I'm going to die here, so if I build it, it's going to stay where it's at.
I just can't fathom somebody building a layout that big, just knowing they're going to tear it down in 4 years. You know?
Exactly.
Some people have all the money.
And the time, I guess.
Yep.
So I got a question for the panel here. Does everybody in this panel work on their layouts by themselves with no outside help, or does some of you guys have friends that come over and help do bench work and
I
wiring
do it
and
all
all that?
myself.
I'm by myself.
Just
One
me,
man
myself, and
shop.
I.
So we're all bachelors then, right?
Very much, yeah.
I go over
Well,
and help James every once in a while.
I'll say the same thing that Larry Smith says about his railroad. He built that whole giant railroad of his by himself because he knows what he wants and he doesn't trust anybody else.
Pretty much the way I am.
Yep.
I see, I'm very particular about the way, I've got this thing built down to the nuts and bolts where every nail goes almost in my mind, and, somebody else is going to come along, they aren't going to do it the way I envisioned it. I just know that. So
Exactly.
the only thing I get help on was when I had some sheets of plywood and Homosote that got up on the side, but, had the guys come over one night and help me run it through the table saw. That was about it. Everything else I did myself.
Yeah, I've had my wife help me carry a few pieces downstairs, but my closest friends don't even know that I'm undertaking this. They've not been over to my house and down in the basement. They've been over the house, but I've not let them downstairs into my basement.
I have a lot of guys over for, running trains and op sessions, but I don't have them work on it at all.
You guys ever seen Larry Smith's railroad?
No.
No.
He's modeling the Great Northern, and he's got a three-car garage size wide. No, 4-car garage size wide. And this thing has got 3 rooms in it, and the building must be at least 100 feet long. And just kind of go into YouTube and type in Larry Smith's Railroad, and it'll bring it up about 3 different things. He's been on the Train Masters several times. It's huge. It's all HO gauge, but it's huge. He's even got the going up through the snow sheds on the Cascades.
I may have seen that. Sounds familiar. The name doesn't ring a bell, but that sounds familiar.
There's one video here. He's got a camera inside the cab view.
He's got one with a camera inside a dome car.
Yeah, somewhere in it. Yeah.
Empire Builder, and he's got actually it's 4 cameras. It's forward, left, right, and rear. He can switch between them. Plus, he's got a sawmill that he built, and because it has twin pieces going up for twin saws, he put 2 sound units in it that's working not in unison but kind of against each other. So it sounds like both units are working in there.
Wow.
He lives in Texas?
Yeah.
So speaking of 4, has anybody seen the guy on Facebook that did the rotary beacon with 4 LEDs?
No.
No.
Oh my God, it's exquisite. He took a little processor and somehow rigged it up so it's actually just like the real rotary beacon with the 4 bulbs in it that kind of make it looks like it's rotating, but it's not.
Yeah.
So
Flashes each one in sequence.
Yeah, that's the way they flash in sequence. So he duplicated that in HO scale with those tiny little LEDs. Oh, it's just exquisite. Never seen anything like it. He's trying to work out something to maybe commercialize them, but everybody's going gaga over them on Facebook. I need some of those. I need some of those. Sell me some.
Yeah, Larry Smith lives about 18 miles from where Miles Hale used to live. So they know each other pretty well.
So, dude, you there?
Dude.
Nah, he fell asleep.
He fell asleep with a wine glass in his hand.
Yeah. I was just going to aggravate him anyway.
He's stuck in his helix and he can't get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got a start date on your layout yet there, Johnny?
No, right now I'm dealing with AC. I had it go out last night. Guy was over here tonight, piecemealing it together, patching it. It's on its last legs. My son's such a tightwad. He got the message tonight. It's got to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to replace mine probably next spring.
Yeah, I got to get that done before I can do anything else down here.
Yeah. Actually, those newer heat pumps are pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. See, we've had a heat. That's what we got now is a heat pump. We'll replace it with a heat pump. In fact, I want to. Well, I was looking at putting 3 drops in here in the basement, but we decided just go with 2. That's all really needed.
Yeah, I got one of those big mobile home type. It's got the ductwork goes underneath the mobile home.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's sweet off subject, didn't it?
It's 10 tons, so it keeps it pretty cool in here. My wife's hollering all the time, "It's cold in here." I said, "I know, it's 72 degrees. It's
Turn your hot flashes back on.
Yeah.
I feel great.
Yeah, I'm getting a little closer to getting something done. Trying to get the space cleaned out, so I moved my workbench over where it's going to be. Get my son shifted around too. I wasn't looking when I chose the other end of the basement for the layout, and that's where the distribution panel is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be blocking it off, so keep from having problems with the fire department and all. I just going to swap ends. Got the same space on the other end, so I got 2 walls at 10 feet, and the back wall I can go probably 16, 17 feet on it.
That's good size.
Yeah, that won't be too bad. Try and get a peninsula going out maybe from one of the corners or something. Come out in the center a little ways.
Yeah, 16, 17 feet. Good sized peninsula can go in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, guys were here working on the AC, and yeah, he's kind of looking around. Looks like you doing some kind of modeling over there. What is that? And I said, I do train modeling. I'd show him what an HO looked like, a piece of rolling stock out. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. When I was growing up, I did Lionel, big stuff. I said, yeah.
Most people do.
I get older, I'll probably wind up doing the O scale too.
Go to N scale, man.
No.
Make it a challenge.
Yeah. I got enough of a challenge already. But, yeah, because Chino switched. He's going to O scale.
His fingers are getting bigger. He can't manipulate the HO anymore.
Saw that Alabama red gravy. Red-eye gravy.
Something.
Red-eye gravy and scratch biscuits.
Well, I'm going to bug out you guys, so catch you next time, whenever that is.
All right, Chris. Appreciate you coming in. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Take care,
Chris.
Yeah, we're coming on up on the bewitching hour anyway.
Yeah, down to 6.
Come on, get the commercials over with.
No, I still got viewers in here.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm down to 5 viewers now. Well, I went to 4.
Chasing them away now.
I guess. I had almost 20 people tonight, so that wasn't too bad.
It ain't bad at all.
Yeah. That's panel and viewers.
Yeah, I was in earlier and bugged out. You could join in.
Yeah.
They left, so I came back in.
Yeah. No, just come on back. Got a spot, take it.
But yeah, as far as the shaper sheet goes, I'm happy with the product. That freaking plaster that they make for that stuff, man, it gets hard. I
Does it?
couldn't cut it with an X-Acto knife or nothing. I had to get a chisel out of my toolbox and chip it away. You know, I took the tape off the track and I just got it off the rail part. The rest of it was coated with that plaster and it would not come off. I had to chip it off, and that took me like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to do all that today. And
Sounds like hydrocal.
that stuff was hard.
So, words, make sure you want everything covered that you don't want it on, huh?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to sit there with my X-Acto pointed and pick out all the bleed through into the ties. That wasn't too bad, but tell you what, trying to cut along the edge of the cork there, where it tied into the spline,
Yeah.
that was a mother, you know. It kind of got it thick in spots, and them thick spots were tough to cut. I had to chisel them out of there.
Well, now you know.
But it's hard. It's hard. I'm going to have to use my Dremel with a rotozip bit in it to cut the tunnel out for my highway. Exactly.
Yeah.
I ain't going to poke through that.
So you used the plaster that they recommended for it then?
Yeah, I figured what the heck, you know, might as well try it.
Yeah. So they got
And then when I
special.
ran out of that, I wasn't going to go buy anymore. I just used some 20-minute joint compound.
Yeah. So they actually have a special plaster. So they actually have a special plaster for it then.
Yeah, they got a plaster for everything. They're like them stupid drug commercials.
It's a shaper sheet plaster.
I wonder if you could use the smooth it or anything like that on there.
I use joint compound on mine. On the rest of it,
Spackle.
I got to spackle the cracks in the seams, but other than that, yeah, just buy the 20-minute joint compound. It comes in the sack and mix up what you need.
Well, the difference between plaster and hydrocal is that plaster is made from lime and it's fairly soft. And hydrocal is made from calcium. That's extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
You can take some of them calcium carbonate, you know, the Tums or Rolaids, and grind them up and add a little bit of water to them and make a wash out of it and do your brick mortar detail with it.
Yeah.
When it dries, it'll wipe right off. You color your brick whatever color you want, you seal it, then you put the mortar in there, and then you wipe it off when it dries.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, well, you know, they give you that stuff to take for acid indigestion, but what you don't know is that people will take a whole lot of that stuff because of acid reflux or something. It'll actually bind you up, you know, to make your gallbladder stop working. Too much calcium in your system. Yeah.
Calcium buildup, yeah, it'll plaster up your innards, man.
Yep.
So don't drink the hydrocal.
Yeah.
Announcement.
When I was on dialysis, we were supposed to eat 4 to 5 Tums with every meal, and it definitely made you constipated. But they told us not to take Rolaids because Rolaids has mercury in it.
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying.
But, you know, I'd go out and buy one of those huge bottles of Tums, and it would only last a month.
Still have your gallbladder?
Yes, I still have my gallbladder.
You're lucky.
I'm in peak physical health, other than I'm overweight.
You can take Maalox too and dilute it and use that for brick mortar too. Seriously, bud, I try
Yeah, I know,
everything.
I know. Yeah, but that's just, what you've been taking for different ailments. Now you can use for mortar mix or whatever.
We'll wait till it expires.
To make flowers, you take a little bit of like fibergrass or whatever, and dip them in. What the hell I want to say? That pink shit. What is it? Pepto-Bismol, and let them dry.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you get an upset stomach, just eat it, right?
Yeah. Like Andy doing a tobacco trade, just don't smoke it.
Yeah. Once again, anybody that wants coal, let me know. I grind it up. I got maybe 600 pounds, 700 pounds of it.
You're not gonna run out of
You can
it.
burn that this winter, depending on the weather.
I take a cast iron skillet that got rusted up on me, and I cleaned it up pretty good with a wire brush, and I use the head from a broken 6-pound sledgehammer, and I sit there and I crush it up and then run it through screens, and I got one HO scale screen and an N scale screen. This is all N scale coal. So,
We can't see it, Bill.
I didn't know you hadn't seen it. So,
Yeah, camera's off.
so this is in a pasta sauce jar. Great value. But take a little out here and show you what it looks like. I'll pull the camera down here.
Yeah.
And I've used it in my barge. I'm going to use it for some of the loads. I'll cut a piece of foam, shape it, stick it in the car. I'll put a little glue over top of it, spread some coal over it. That way I don't have all the weight in the car of a whole load of the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's an appropriate jar for handmade stuff. Great value.
Yeah.
I say anybody wants it, I'll send you a quart jar of it. I just need to get rid of it because it's just sitting there. The one good part about it, we leave the tubs outside and it fills up with water. And if we're going to use it in our steam engines, we just pull the coal out and let it dry off. But water will stop the actual oil base in the coal from evaporating from the elements, from the air and the sun and everything.
Yeah. Just like lead in water, it won't oxidize. Once it has oxidized, got that coat, it stops.
Right.
As long as it stays in the water. Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, we done hit the witching hour, so I think I want to shut this one down. It's been a really good hangout. We got some good topics going tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Had some good opinions, good comments. So I just want to say keep checking back in the YouTubeModelBuilders.com website for all your latest news and info on presentations, the Tuesday night presentations, because each week is a different subject and a different host. Then we'll also have the eMag, which is bi-monthly. It comes out. And the live show, which the schedules are there at YouTubeModelBuilders.com. That is third Saturday as a rule. So you can get your schedule there and what the topic's going to be, who the guest host will be. And I just want to say just keep going back to the website, checking and see what's going on. Who's got what schedule for each week. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for participating. I want to thank the viewers for being here. Didn't get too many questions from them, so I guess they were more interested in what was being said and talked about. So we pretty well talked a lot about glues. Then we got some Wi-Fi talked about, JMRI on Wi-Fi, so got some ideas there. I want to thank everybody once again for being here tonight. I want to thank the viewers for coming in. And I guess that's going to be it for tonight's show. Stay tuned for next Tuesday night. I believe that's going to be Dune. I'm not sure what his subject's going to be. So I guess you'll have to go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com and get the schedule. Thank you, gentlemen, and we will see you next Thursday night.
Okay.